All right, so we're gonna do today, really quick, how to read the buy and hold analysis. So this is our calculator. I've already filled it all out. So this is a quick tutorial video of what you're looking at, and I'll do other videos on how to fill this out. So when you're filling it out, we just enter in the gray spots. So those are the variables, and then the white boxes auto-populate. Let me zoom in a little. Okay. So typically you'd have an address here. This is your total square feet. This is your livable square feet. In this case, they're the same. Sometimes you'll have square footage that, is common area, hallways, laundry rooms, that sort of thing. So not livable. So square footage that you're not going to be able to actually rent out. This is a fourplex. It has a year built of 1979, and then on the tax record it actually said an effective year built of 2000, so that means it was fully remodeled. Okay, you have your lot size. So clearly this is a pretty big lot. So you have a nice yard there, probably some parking. Zoning, we always put zoning just in case that's something of interest. Building rating is always a 1 for our purposes. I'll talk more about this another time, but just always put a 1 there. You'll always see it with a 1. $13.50 is your market rent, so it'll auto-populate these. $13.50. Terms available, that's asking if there's seller financing or any other creative terms available. In this case, no. And we're having a vacancy rate of 5%. My general rule when I do these is the city of Seattle, Bellevue. It's going to be 3%. The next level out, so your Shoreline, Renton, just one kind of, degree out from the core there is a 4%, and then anything outside of that, we put in a 5%. Okay. So these are basic things. I put the asking price here of $650. That's what the seller wants. And then we'll look at kind of what will happen if we give him the full $650 or what we kind of want to offer. So this is what we're trying to decide with this calculation. Next, we have the income section. Right here you have current, and here you have Performa. So this means currently this is what the seller reported is what is being populated here. And this populates automatically when you put these in. So a lot of times you'll just get a rent roll. So you'll type in all of these. So this should actually be white. So you put in all of this information, and then it's going to give you the current income. Okay. Then you have your Performa income, which is here, which populated from here your market rent. So we're saying we can go from $4,600 to $5,400 in rent income. And I'm also saying we can increase utility recovery to $200, so $50 per unit. So that would mean effectively people are paying $1,400 a month to live here. So total annual income goes from $55,800 to $67,200. And that's kind of our business plan. This part is just showing kind of the unit breakdowns and what the percent increase is going to be. So the higher this number is, the more likely you're going to have turnover. Okay, unless you can really justify the $250 a month increase to the folks that are living there. All right, next section is financials. So here we have your loan. Okay, this number is going to auto-populate with your offer price. Comes here, see? And then your down payment. This is a conventional buy and hold, so we're just going to assume you're putting 25%. When you're playing with this, you can see what happens if you put 30% to your other figures. But we'll come back to that. Standard 30-year, your debt service, so this is your interest rate. We're going to put that at 4.5 right now is what it's at. And then, of course, closing costs, we usually just leave it at 1% unless we have other information. Initial repairs, so this is different than your recurring maintenance, which is reflected here. Initial repairs and initial lease-up costs are going to be basically what it's going to cost you to go from here to here. So if you're going to increase everybody's rent $250, they're probably going to expect some level of upgrade. And then generally when you take over a building, there are maintenance requests that come in. The seller may or may not have kind of ignored maintenance requests that came in the last 3 to 6 months while he was getting ready to sell the thing. So there's probably going to be some deferred maintenance. So I'd always assume at least $500 per unit, even if you're just going to not even do anything, just because that's more conservative. In this case, since we are going to pump the rent up a little bit, I'm just assuming $2,000 per unit. Again, we know the property is in pretty good condition because it was fully remodeled in 2000. So I'm not anticipating any big repairs, electrical, plumbing, roof, window, sidings, nothing like that. But maybe just some cosmetic stuff, make the tenants feel good about staying and paying the higher rent, which again is cheaper than turning over a whole unit, by the way. Okay, then you have your recurring normal expenses. Okay, so this section, so your property tax is just going to come off the tax record. HOA, if there is an HOA. Insurance is going to default to $400 per year per unit. So this is populating from here. If you get information from the seller that it's more or less, you can always just change that. Electricity, this again comes from all these utilities come from the seller. And if you don't know, you can just generally estimate. As you do more and more of these, you'll start to see kind of where it's at. Electricity typically is just the house meter, so the individual units are metered back to the tenants. Water, sewer, garbage, and gas. Sometimes they're sub-metered, sometimes aren't. So just assume they aren't. So you're paying out $600 a month, and you're collecting back $200 a month. The closer you can get those numbers, the better. But again, just trying to be conservative and realistic on what people are willing to pay. Maintenance is going to default to $1,000 per year per unit. For recurring maintenance, that could be, you're going to want to verify that off the profit and loss of the property owner. And then property management is here. I just always put 7% per year, and that's going to be off this gross amount. So that again is conservative. It'll probably be slightly less than that with turnover and what have you, but regardless, just put that there. Okay. Then you have your current ROI. So this is your gross, so currently, so this is coming off of these figures here, right? Currently what you're doing, so 55 minus 5% minus your operating expenses here. So gross scheduled income less vacancy less operating expenses is your net operating income. It's a really important term, the NOI. So your NOI is there, less your debt service, so minus your mortgage payments, which are here. So your annual cash flow is negative 500, and the monthly cash flow is negative 41. Okay, over here you've got your down payment, settlement, and then your repairs. So this is going to be the total cash out of pocket, is all of that. And then your cash on cash is, of course, your total cash outlay. Your annual cash flow divided by your total cash outlay here. Okay, and then all these other figures that some people like. And then so you have your cash on cash. I mean, all I ever really look at are cash flow, cash on cash return, and cap rate. Some people like these other ones, so we put them there. Okay, and then your Performa, this is what we're really dealing with here. So once you increase the rent, so you go through this work of increasing from this to this by spending that, this is what you could potentially generate from this property. So income is higher, vacancy is a little higher, operating income is obviously higher, operating expenses are the same, so your NOI is higher, much higher really, and your debt service is the same. So annual cash flow 10,000, monthly cash flow 86.1. Now your total cash outlay is the same. So annual cash flow divided by total cash outlay is going to be 5.84. It's not, I mean, I'm not even going to express if I have an opinion about that. because some people do, some people don't. Cap rate 6.1. So in effect, if we buy this property at the asking price that this guy wants, you're buying at a 4.48 cap with the ability to increase to a 6.15 cap. Now down here, I have kind of this little calculator that says, no, that's fine, but I want to be able to increase it to a 6.5. So that means I'm going to buy at a 4.7, and I'm going to increase to a 7, or excuse, 4.7 increase to a 6.5, which means I need to get this thing, all other things being equal, I need to get it at 615. So that changed the offer price to 615, and it changed your purchase price here to 615, and it changed all your other figures. Now, if I was negotiating this, I'd be like, guy, listen, how am I going to sell, what was this at before? 6.15. How am I going to talk my client into buying a deal that doesn't make money? Negative $41. So we can reason with the seller and be like, look, realistically, okay, a $92 a month cash flow, like who puts down $167,000 to make $92 a month? Like, it's unreasonable. But what I'm going to tell the client is like, hey, we can increase it, and then you'll have a 7% cash on cash, 6.5, and this is just going to go up every year. So that's a much better deal. So he wants 650, and we're going to offer 615.